Randy Show.
We're back.
We are back. And today our topic is marriage and mental health. Because once you have married someone or made a long-term commitment in a relationship, everyone's mental health comes into play. And it can set the tone of the household if we don't keep our mental health in check. So, thoughts, feelings, Randy? You're giving lots of facial expressions.
Oh, yeah. She's like, what do you... Because for me, it wasn't that... How do I put it? So it's funny because now that I'm over that hump, it's like, whoa. Been married like 22 years now. And I didn't even really let my wife know that I had mental issues.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. For like almost 2 decades.
That's
different.
Impressive. You hit it for that amount of time.
It wasn't that I was hiding it. I wasn't admitting it either.
Oh, okay. So like it was apparent to everyone else.
It was apparent to, but it wasn't apparent to me because I was just trying to be this person. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't until I stepped back and looked at it and saw that this is weird. And that's when I realized, dude, you got an issue that you got to face, and it was really negatively affecting my marriage in so many different ways. And I say that to say there's probably a lot of people out here that just are who they are. Yeah. And you get so caught up in who you are that you don't realize that there still may need to be some mental adjustments. Because we live in this society where you just got to get you got to get with the program.
Yeah.
No, I don't have to always get with the program. I need you to get with the program because I'm the consistent one.
Yeah.
I was seeing my consistency as the right consistency. And it was not the right.
It was not the right consistency.
Because my consistency was creating the problems.
Oh, okay. So you were consistently creating problems.
And didn't realize it.
Got it.
But what happened, I realized that even though what I was arguing, and when I say argue, I was talking about in the debatable way.
Yeah.
What I was arguing versus what you were arguing. Yours was what was deciphering my argument, but I couldn't see it. Mm-hmm. So when I stepped outside of my argument and listened, I said, wow, I've been diagnosed for the last 19 years and didn't even realize I was being diagnosed because of my selfishness and ego to want to be the one that was the right person. And it's just like one thing about marriage, you got to be willing to have the hard conversations.
Oh, absolutely. Marriages can't survive without the hard conversations.
The hard
like
conversations.
Marriage will, it's like holding a mirror up. Mm-hmm. And something that I've noticed just personally and professionally is that marriage and having children open up wide open. Anything that you haven't dealt with,
it's coming.
It's going to come up because again, it's just such an intense situation and in the best way possible. Like, I don't know about you, but I've really enjoyed being married for the most part.
Yeah.
But also, there's no hiding in marriage.
Yes.
And that's one of the magical pieces about marriage is that you can truly be who you are. Mm-hmm. As a married person to your spouse and be loved unconditionally. But again, that willingness to be vulnerable and to be transparent and to show warts and all is important for yourself and then growth as a couple.
Mm-hmm. I got a question for you.
Sure.
Okay. I know your husband's a very busy man with what he does professionally. You have the time where you have to be just Lindsay because you do it. You have a job where you have to separate yourself from the real world. How do you feel that it affects couples mentally when you have one or the other partner that even though they're never really with you, still feel like they need time to themselves? Do you understand? Do you understand the question that I'm asking?
No, I understand that perfectly because I am what you call an outgoing introvert. So I prefer time by myself.
Okay.
It's funny, my second Mother's Day, and it's only timely because yesterday was Mother's Day, that my husband asked me what I wanted, and I was like, to be by myself.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, on Mother's Day? And I was like, you asked me what I wanted. and so it's all about balance and prioritizing.
Well, I think, okay, let me get a little deeper
Okay.
into the question, because I agree with you 100% on that. And I think what I'm going at is, and it's because I was criticized about it. I don't really believe in, like, with Carl, if Carl was like, me and Carl been getting wings forever.
Yeah.
So if he like, it's time to get the wings, it's time, because that's my problem.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about it's Friday, worked all day, worked all week, rather. It's Friday. You already know that the games come on Saturday at 12, so I ain't gonna be thinking about you anyway.
Yes.
Why are you out with the guys Friday night?
Oh,
You feel what I'm saying? Why are you? What are you running? Because after it becomes so consistent to me, I want to ask you, why are you not wanting to go home? I understand that you want to kick it, but it becomes to, why aren't you wanting to go home to me?
Yes.
How do you feel like that, whether it be the girls or the guys? How do you think that the spouse that's at home, that's with the kid, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
They're at home with the kid because they can't do it because you did it. How do you think that mentally becomes a deterrent when it comes to?
Oh, it's a breeding ground for resentment.
Okay.
Is what it is.
Yeah, I think that's the question I was going
It's a
for.
breeding ground for resentment, and a lot of couples, because there is this uneven distribution in terms of free time.
Yes.
And who gets to do what.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes, again, this breeding ground for resentment, and people get very upset and they hold on to it until they explode. And there's usually this like one time that you went with the boys that your spouse may like lose their mind about it, and you're just like, why are you so fucking mad? Excuse me, but why are you so
I'm
fucking
with
mad,
you
right?
though. I'm with you. Yeah.
Because you don't understand that they aren't reacting to this time with the boys. They're reacting to the 10 other times, the 10 other Fridays that instead of going on a date or spending time with the family or just watching a movie at home, you have gone out.
Yes. And I think this thing that we're talking about right now is way more prevalent in couples than people would really talk about.
Oh, yeah.
But not in the sense of they're doing it in the sense of, I do this all the time, why you mad? I'm mad because you do it all the time.
Yes.
You answered your question in your statement.
Yeah.
And you know, I remember, I tell people all the time, and this is something that I tell couples, it's amazing how you work at it when you're dating. It's amazing how it becomes an obligation once you say I do.
Yeah.
It should always be something that you're working at.
Well, but we also have to look at the tone of the marriage.
Okay.
And so I see couples too. And you know, sex comes up a lot, time together comes up a lot, all of those things. And something that I quite frankly say to couples, I'm like, well, people don't like to spend time with people they hate. And people also seem like they don't really like each other that much. So we almost have to distill it down to like, what brought you here in the first place? What do you like about each other? Like, what have you grown together in that you still have in common? And much like, well, we talked about it in our last cast about the phone, right? I would say the phone is the number one culprit in people's marriages that create a problem.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Because if we're having a conversation, usually it's like, yeah, how was your day at work? Yeah, what's going on? Oh, ha 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 ha. Oh, I'm not laughing at you, I'm laughing at this funny video that I saw. So it creates this barrier, or you're constantly texting or talking to people who aren't the people who live at your house. And so again, making that time, but also like making it enjoyable, and that's where it becomes the obligation. If we aren't having fun together anymore, but we're going on date night every Thursday, and it's not like yay date night, but date night, then it is an obligation.
Exactly.
And so we need to examine where the joy got sucked out of your marriage. Because there's lots of joyless marriages out here in these streets.
So, you know, I could ask a million questions when it comes to marriage, because I have a lot of things that I have in my head that I ask: was it good or was it bad? I think that one of the worst things in a partner-to-partner relationship that is going to be forever is having sex too early.
Interesting. Tell me more.
I'm gonna come from a male perspective.
Okay.
Once you take the fight out of it, it's nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it doesn't, because it's not any fun anymore. I don't need to get to know you anymore. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think that people that have been together for a long time and they started early, do you really know that person? Do you really know that person?
That is true.
Because you don't have a reason to court. You don't have a reason to find the ways in anymore. You don't have the reasons to care about what you want to happen to you in the next 20 years, because you took the fight out of the situation. Don't take that's joy in it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just saying, the one thing I like about the 90-day rule is not the 90-day rule. It's the fact that take advantage of those 3 months to really get to know that. If you're going to use that 90-day rule, take advantage of those 90 days to really get to know that person, the ins and outs. Talk about have hard conversations. Have the hard conversations before you go that step. And then you say, oh man, this is the best sex in the world. I will marry me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
But you might be marrying a psycho.
Yeah.
You know, they might be marrying a psycho.
That is very true.
They might be marrying a manipulator, a person full of deception. You got to, that's why I say that about that. I really feel like, and I can say that because that's the one thing that I appreciate about my marriage.
Yeah.
Is that I was put in a position, I had to make the decision. Am I going to get to know this person? Or am I just going to say, oh, you ain't doing what everybody else doing, and I'm going to go back to what it was. By choosing to get to know this person, I can say I'm in one of the happiest marriages that probably exists on this planet. And it was because of that. So I can stand by the fact that having the opportunity to make the decision to either chase the sex or learning the person is why I can say that I'm still with my wife to this day.
Unfortunately, I cannot say that was the case. My husband and I. Like, not even a little bit. Now, there is some argument as to when it happened, if it was day 2 or day 3. However, everybody's journey is different.
Everybody's journey is different, you know.
But also, I mean, we were 19 when we first started dating each other. Well, I was 19, he was 21. Part of the reason I dated him was because he had a nice car and he could buy alcohol easily. I was in a very different phase of my life during that time. I was in college, but part of what works for us is that we got together during each other's hot mess era.
Yes.
And so we know where all the bodies are buried, and we have seen each other just like at our absolute horrendous worst or best, depending on, you know, the angle, because, you know, I was definitely a fan of dancing on a bar or two in college. And so
so y'all helped raise each other.
Yeah, so we really grew up together. And so again, like, we met when we were in college, so we were together all through college, and you know, first jobs and first apartments and first houses and all of that. And so even though our sexual intimacy came very early on in our relationship, it still managed to work.
But, from what I hear is, even though you all did have sex early, you all still grew and got to know each other. Absolutely. And that's the problem with where we're at now in society.
Well, but I also think that we both knew what we wanted and what we didn't want. And there are a lot of people who want a wedding but not a marriage. And so you want to be able to say that you're married,
I like that, but
are completely not prepared for marriage.
There you go.
And I will say, my husband and I were lucky. We were very lucky. Both sets of our parents have been married for 40 plus years. Wow. And so we had really good examples to look to for the most part, as far as what we wanted. And in my opinion, the person that you're married to should feel like home.
There you go. And
your home should feel like a sanctuary. And so this is a very long-winded way to answer the question that you posed to me initially.
It's not though. It's actually a great way to answer the question, because you know, you enlighten me, because my experience is like polar opposite of yours, but the way you explain it it actually mirrors mine so
Yeah.
much at the same time.
But also, that's why you want to spend time with your spouse. Is that because you actually like each other and you enjoy each other's
There
company.
you go.
I mean, there is no one, and I can speak for my husband too, like that we'd rather hang out with. Like
Yes.
we have, it's like having a built-in like bestie that you
Yes.
just do everything with.
Yes.
And we don't mind it, and so. Unlike a lot of couples, we don't necessarily we're not like date night. We're just like, well, that's like most days.
There you
we
go.
like to be out together.
We're always dating.
Yeah.
I mean, we always dating. Our favorite date is going to the grocery store.
Oh yeah. Well, that's not my favorite date. But
Oh, man, well.
that's my son's favorite date with his father because he knows that he's gonna
Get
get some.
everything that
Yes,
you're not
like he
gonna buy.
can. Yes, like he can manipulate him into like buying all the toys. So, but yeah, I mean, it's just really about like, do you like your spouse?
There you go.
And if you don't like your spouse, or you all seem not to like each other, then it heavily impacts your mental health because it bleeds into like the children are saying the vibes,
There you
right?
go.
Like the vibes of the house
Mm-hmm.
are awful.
Terrible.
And that's why you would rather be anywhere else than home.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to look at that, like how that impacts your mental health. Like if you walk into your house and you're like, what fresh fuckery is behind the door?
There
door
you
number
go.
2, then you're gonna be anxious.
Mm-hmm.
If you feel like that you're in a situation that you can't win, like there are, I always use this example that there are people who are perpetually dissatisfied.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you walked in your house and you're like, babe, here's $1 million, babe would say, well, I really wanted it in 5s and 20s.
Exactly.
So, that can make you feel depressed. It can
Mhm.
make you feel like that you're never going to be good enough. And
Mhm.
that constant exposure to that really negatively impacts people's mental health. And
Mhm.
so who you choose as a spouse,
Mm.
it's one of the most important, if not the single most important
Mhm.
decision that you're going to make in your entire life
Mm-hmm.
because it impacts everything that you do and who you are as a person.
Mhm.
Like I think that we all have known people that they have been married to someone or with someone and this person just like elevated them so much more. Or we've met people that they were like happy-go-lucky people and now they're just like sad and miserable.
Yes.
And,
Oh God.
and it may not be solely because of their spouse,
Mhm.
but if things aren't going well with you and your spouse, it doesn't help.
True. Do you think that being a friend to your spouse helps your mental fortitude when it comes to your marriage
Oh, absolutely.
versus just being married? Because
Yeah.
there's a lot of couples out there that are married, but that person is not their best friend.
Yeah, and I always say that my husband's not my best friend.
Mm-hmm.
Her name's Megan. My
He's one of your best friends.
no,
Really?
because he's
Explain
so
that to
he's
me.
so much more than that. Like
Oh, I love it.
like the status. Like there's no one in my life that can reach the same
I
elevation as
love
him.
it. I love it. I love it.
And that is because there is no one that you consciously or subconsciously trust more than your spouse.
There you go.
Like this person can slit your throat in your sleep while you're sleeping next to them. Like you trust them enough to
Mhm.
sleep safely and soundly.
Yes, literally.
So
Mhm.
we have to take all that into consideration. And so yeah, like I have close friends, I have a best friend, but I mean like he's somewhere else.
He's
like
a different. He's
he's
another
a different
altitude.
level, and that's kind of how I think of everyone's spouses, where it's
Mhm.
just like no one is ever going to be on the same plane as your spouse
Mhm.
if you're happily married.
Yeah, and it's funny because I literally am on an island alone because at the end of the day, if it can't be 100% of, like you said, trust, the trust of, like you said, when you sleep and you know this, you're sleeping so sound that this person could cut your throat.
Mm-hmm.
And there's only one person for me with that.
Yeah.
And that's her.
Yeah.
You know, so it might be loosely used, but it's singularly used for me at
Yeah.
the same time.
Yeah.
You know, and people have tried to hold that title. But the one thing that she's never did is make me doubt saying it for her.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of it. And man, that moment that I'm talking about right now
Mm-hmm.
has turned around some mental health issues for me
Oh yeah.
that could have been detrimental, where I wouldn't even be sitting here talking to you right now,
Oh.
thinking
right,
about
right.
that moment. You gotta find things within your marriage to help you through the hard times.
But here's the other thing too. You need someone who can love you through it. Like,
There you
I
go.
am notoriously high strung and can be like anxious.
Mm-hmm.
And my husband understands that about me. And instead of him criticizing me or, making fun of me about it, I mean, like, we do have some jokes in kind about it, but he's never made me feel less than because of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so your spouse should provide you with a level of safety
Mm-hmm. Like
that
that
you
word.
can just be you. And
Mm-hmm.
I use that word often with couples, is
Mhm.
that I call it emotional safety,
Mhm.
right? Where we feel like we can do or say anything within reason, that, and we're not going to be met with judgment,
Yes.
and that they aren't going to stop loving us.
There you go.
Because of it.
Mm-hmm. But I think too, if you don't like that person,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to hell in a handbasket real fast.
Yes. And there are a lot of people, I want to be clear, there are a lot of people who love their spouses, but they don't like them.
They can't stand them. They hate them.
Yeah.
Literally. But they stay because of love.
Mhm.
I don't encourage that.
No.
I'm not a person that
No,
encourages that.
I'm not either, and I know plenty of lovely divorce attorneys.
No, that's
You-
right. Listen, we agree on that. You gotta like that person.
You have to like that
You
person.
have to.
And you have to be able to give benefit of the doubt.
There
Like,
you go.
that is one of my primary rules for when I work with couples, is giving the benefit of the doubt. Like, if you think that your spouse is out to get you, then it's not gonna work.
Yeah, I agree.
So it's like, if you're eating crackers and then you look at your spouse and your spouse looks at you and you automatically think that your spouse is upset that you're eating the crackers, that's a problem.
That's a problem.
And so how we perceive ourselves, how we perceive them, and how we perceive them perceiving us, right? That's confusing. But make all the difference in the world.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
I'm with you. I don't stay for the sake of staying.
No, because there you want to talk about the mental health downfall. That right there creates depressed kids.
Mm-hmm.
It creates depressed pets.
Yes.
Because pets even realize, if I go to mom right now, dad gonna be mad at me. And this is real stuff that we're talking about, and now you have all these because there's a lot of people involved in a marriage. It's not just you and your spouse.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody in this big old happy circle is affected by two people.
Yeah, by your choices.
There you go.
By your choices.
Mhm.
And so, and Randy and I aren't saying, like, if you hit a rough patch, like, dip out of the marriage.
No.
That's not what we're
By no
doing here.
means are we saying that.
But we are saying, check in with yourself, check in with your spouse,
Mhm.
and how you're feeling about yourself, them, your marriage, and figure out a path forward if there is a path forward.
I like open communication. No subject is off the table.
Mm-hmm.
This is your person. Don't hide it.
Yeah.
Talk about it. Because hiding it creates the things that you don't need in your marriage that are mental.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't, I'm sorry, you can't fix mental by yourself.
No.
How can you fix mental by yourself? You can't.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta have somebody to talk to. And one thing that Lindsay always tells me is every therapist needs some therapy.
Yeah.
Every coach needs some coaching
Yes.
of some sort. It has to happen. You have to have somebody to talk to that'll give you something back in return.
Yeah,
Mhm.
for sure. And
Mhm.
so I 100% agree with that. Open communication, being respectful of each other.
There you go.
Like, that's so important, is
Mhm.
being respectful, and then prioritizing your spouse.
Yes. Say
where-
that again.
Because I mean, you are, and it doesn't matter where you fall religiously. Pretty much the common theme with everything is that you cleave to your spouse.
There you
Like,
go.
you have left your family, and now
Mhm.
you've created your own family,
Mm-hmm.
and that family is your priority.
There you go.
And your spouse is top priority in that family,
There you go.
because children leave.
There you go.
Hopefully. They leave, and it's just going to be you and your spouse.
There you go.
And so that is very important, that you prioritize what's important to them.
Mhm.
A philosophy in our house: if it's important to me, then it's important to him. If it's important to him, then it's important
There
to
you
me.
go. Mhm.
And then you make it work from there.
There you go. I like that. That's solid. That's solid. Man. Listen.
Final thoughts?
If I had to lead with one thing, we just said it, but it's like the best medicine. If it's on your heart, let it out. You'll know if that's your person by the way they come back at you.
Yes.
Because you're gonna have some people that's gonna say, "I don't want to hear that. I didn't have a bad day." But if you got a spouse that even though they had a bad day, they understand your importance and they're gonna listen to you, and you're gonna have that conversation. Because at the end of the day, the bad days are gonna continue to come. But if you allow your spouse to be in that bad head space for too long, 9 times out of 10 you're gonna lose them.
That is very true. And so something that you said that I kind of want to piggyback off of is to absorb instead of argue.
There you go. I love it. That's
So
perfect.
you absorb what your spouse is telling you instead of arguing your point or, being defensive.
I'm a witness. I'm a witness. No, hey, but all in all, this was a great show, great conversation. Hey, Lindsay and Randy show, the Lindsay and Randy show is going to be full of a lot of great information. We're going to have fun. But one thing we're going to always do, we're going to give you something to help you with your mental health moving forward. Moving forward. So, you got any final thoughts?
Well, choose your spouse wisely and absorb, don't argue.
You go. Can't wait to see y'all on the next show. And always remember, you can follow us on all social media platforms at the Lindsay and Randy Show.
Like it fancy, I know what I want.